Yeah, pull up the PowerPoint or whatever. What do we call this? What do I call the OBS thing that I do? I gotta come up with names for things. Anyhow, I got a very special guest in the show today. We've got Lori joining us here on the stream. So if you haven't yet met my beautiful other, this is who she is. I had to tilt your camera down because it's way too high. There you are. Hold on. That's you.
Hello.
Okay, you're on camera. There. Hi. Okay, so I've got the banner up at the top. Today we're going to talk about our reinvigorated approach to promoting whatever it is that I do. Yeah. And this is the 119th episode of the stream this year. Okay, how did we put this? I started streaming last year.
As nobody wants to listen to my podcast.
Nobody did. And then I switched it up at the start of 2023. I started calling it Everybody Wants to Listen to My Podcast.
So from one extreme to another.
Yeah, it's all about extremes. and so then it's now it's time for rebranding. So while we're still technically it's 119th stream of the year, now we're just calling it what it is that I do, and that is One Page Story Extravaganza. So I'm gonna write down in here in the studio with me today is Mrs. Lori Fantastico. And I spelled today wrong. Hey, good start. Dee Dee's joined us. Hi, Dee Dee. Welcome aboard. So Lori has it's a holiday. So you're home with me today. We have been spending the day today trying to paperwork. It's a paperwork day. And in the course of a paperwork day, we're sitting down and trying to organize what it is that I'm doing across whatever platforms that I'm doing it on, the objective plans for whatever's next. Dee Dee says, "Yay, Lori!"
Hi, Dee Dee.
So it's a lot of the sort of stuff that you keep. It's in the back of your mind. It's less about, from my perspective, in the creative journey. It's less of the stuff that I think about at all, as opposed to the way that you work in things because of your ability to organize really well.
Well, you've done really well, and it's easy for me to come in and just tweak it a little bit and streamline it.
Tweak it a lot. It needs a lot of tweaking. I need a lot of tweaking. I got a chair squeaking. Yeah. So that's what's going on. I got a couple things I want to share for a moment, though. There's today's page, as per usual. I've posted up today's page on the screen, and I'm going to switch cameras for a second to the overhead. So here is the original art for that. I drew it in black and brown Fudenosuke pens. You can get these in. I found a brown one, I got a red one, and I got a blue one. Woo-hoo! Things are going to happen. So that's that. But in addition to that, today was a mail day, and yay mail! So in the mail today, I got probably, this has happened twice now in 2 weeks, and it just completely touches my heart. When we stopped by Caitlin's house, and we stopped by to see pick up my mother from my sister and the kids. My niece Caitlin gave me a drawing of me. There it is. Woohoo! So
Woo!
I've got it. I scanned them so I can put them up on the screen.
Excellent.
And so there's Caitlin's drawing, which I treasure. It's right over here on my shelf. And I'm going to put it in a little frame. And then today in the mail, I received a really nice portrait as well from Rachel Fleming. And so I've already scanned that. And I put that in. So thank you very much. I think she got me. She's even got my tilted glasses on my head.
Yeah.
Because they never sit right because of my bald noggin. But yeah, she even got that. And what'd you say? It was the cheekbones?
She got your cheeks.
She got my big goofy cheeks. So thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate it. And that's the same thing. I'm gonna frame that. I really love it. So thank you so much. But everybody go check out Rachel. I think she's under Rachel J. Fleming or RJ Fleming on Instagram. I can't remember which one, but thank you so much, Rachel. That's it's heart touching. I really like that. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate you. Yeah. So I'm gonna get Crackalack, and I got the book. So I'll figure out. I think I'm gonna do a three prompt page today. I think is what I'll draw while we're chatting. Now I got a great suggestion during I was watching Dee Dee's stream this morning, and somebody made the suggestion of a one-page comic about drawing conspiracies and reading chickens. So because she said that because of the what came first, chicken or the egg page that we did last week, she said it made her want to read conspiracy books and draw chickens. And I said it was better than the other way around. And then one of the people that was in the thing, was in the stream this morning, said Alyssa, her name was, said that there's a one-page comic idea. So whenever anybody says that, I have to write it in the book. Okay, so Dee Dee says, we want to hear from Lori. Oh, boy. No. What does that mean? And then, oh, yeah, there's a big smiley face. Okay, I was worried she was winking. I'm like, oh, that's bad. So, okay, so this has been going, the one-page streaming, because I've been doing the one pages since the start of COVID, since the start of the Canadian lockdowns.
Yeah.
And all the ones that I did last year in the portrait format. But then now I've done, since the start of January in this landscape format, we're at 160 some odd. I don't know. I can't keep up on counting. Because they're not all one. Well, as far as it goes for specifically one pages, it's like 148. But as far as it goes for total pages, it's like 160 something. Because I mean, even last week there was 2 things that I did double pages of. I have problems. So, what do you think of this whole thing and how it's going? Because you're stepping in to help me occasionally organize my chaos.
Yes. Well, so, I mean, you've grown it. You weren't going at this pace when you first started because you were working full time. And so the frequency was much less. But the whole time we've known each other, been together, been married, your capacity for producing, drawing, it has never wavered. So you are constantly carving out time to work on projects. And so to me, that makes you perfectly suited to be able to maintain a daily stream, a Monday to Friday stream at least. It's a lot, but you've proven your capacity to do that, and I have no doubt that you can just maintain it because it's integral to who you are, is to be creating and producing. And also, you're a great talker. and I'm a really good listener. That's why we make a really good couple.
You're a really good talker too. Come on.
Well, but I can't keep up with
but
your volume.
You talk, but I blather. So Dee Dee says, have I narrowed down which pages for the book? I have. I've got notes that I have been writing about. Whenever people say, I like that page and I like that page, I write that down.
That's good.
But that is as far as I got. And meanwhile, today we're ready to engage in conversation with the publisher about let's get this together. So I have to finalize these pages. I have to just finally do that. So maybe we'll just do that today. Jim Luhan has joined us from California. Hello, Canadian friends. And the U.S. as well, and the special guest star. For those that are just joining, in the studio with me, Toy Day. I wrote Toy Day, I added an I. Is my wife. So yeah, there's it's a challenge to. It's not like it's a case of these are all my precious babies. It's not a case of that. It's just even I get overwhelmed when I sit down and look at the pages that I've done, and I mean I can easily go through and go, I think that one worked. I think that one worked. I think that one worked. And just as readily as I can go through and go, there's a typo. There's a typo. Whatever thing. I should have done this and that. I should have done this and that. And then I make myself a body of work more so than I've actually picked the pages. And we got to come up with 60 of, like, are we going to do it in the first 100 or are we going to do it in the first, might as well just do it in the first 100. And, or you just do the first 60. I don't know. See, that's the challenge. But there's pages that people specifically like.
Yeah.
And within that first 100.
Yeah, I think you want to start there is what really resonated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it works because we have the one video on YouTube that shows the first 100. So it's easier to look through that and as I scroll and just go, that one.
Yeah.
Nope. Yep. Nope. 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 Right. So, and this is different for us. Do you want to talk about what, how this craziness got started?
Oh, yeah.
From, I guess, like 2015 is when we got on this train. Not the us train, the book train.
Well, yeah. So, so when we first started to get to know one another, your studio was beside my office, and on my breaks, I'd pop by and I'd be watching you draw. You were illustrating a book at the time, and they were quite detailed pages that you were drawing out. And
I think that was the Hyacinth Blues.
Yeah, the Land of the Hyacinth Blues.
Yeah.
And so when we dated and then we moved in together, I'm looking in your studio and I'm seeing all of these finished pages.
She was going through my stuff.
So what's this? Why is this in a drawer? Like, what is this about? I thought this was for a book. And and this whole world of comic books and publishing is completely foreign to me. I know nothing about it. And I really didn't know a whole lot about Christopher's career in the arts prior to us getting together. And he is always very humble. He doesn't want to come across as, bragging type of thing. But once I was finally able to draw out of him, like, where have you been in your career? What have been the highlights? And so I started to get an understanding of the context. And he had been published in books and he had shown in galleries. And so it's just, here's where he's at now. Needed to work full time. So the art became less of a focus. And so how could we move these pages forward? And so began self-publishing, which then, which morphed into also publishing others, because collaboration is a key value of Christopher, working with others, giving others the opportunities, because he appreciates the challenges he faced in launching his career, and getting that network going takes time and connections. And if he can do that for others, that's what he wants to do. And so it became sustainable, self-sustaining, because they print the one book, the revenue from that allowed the cost to be covered for the next book, and so on. And so that continued for a good number of years.
We ended up doing 73 books. And in between the 4-page anthologies, the 8-page anthologies, and the London Comic Jam, we've published over 250. I stopped counting at 250. I don't know how many it is. Because the jam books would have like 30 people, 20 people, 40 people, right?
Yeah.
But even with the 4-page shorts in our 16 anthology books, that's That's over 60 people. That's 70 people. And you put RP Comics Monthly. Yeah, anyway, so it's a bunch of people. But you got comments. Dee Dee says, "Go Lori." And Jim says, "Wait, I heard that all comic book boys were afraid of girls. What's going on here?"
Okay, yeah, there is merit in that because he totally canceled our first date. Like he invited me out for like coffee, and the day of, I think he canceled on me.
Terrible
I
monster.
was so mad at him. I'm like, okay, he just really wants to be friends. Okay, we'll just be friends. And then
It was totally nerves. That's the sad all the others like, oh.
So then it took
really
2
pathetic.
months for us to try again, and then it was April Fool's Day.
Yeah, that's a great. Hey, you want to go out on Friday? Are you sure? This Friday is her response because I, not being a bozo, I asked her out for April Fool's Day.
Well, that was good because you never forget it.
I never forget her anniversary. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so we started by publishing the 3 books you found in the drawer, and then once we garnished enough revenue to pay back the initial, we started with the anthology. Joined in so it was like now 2 tracks, my books and books because I've never been in one of our apartments anthology.
Right.
That's for other people, and so yeah. Then once we got, because the 1-page Extravaganza is 30 or 31. I don't. Who cares? But and then we've got I put the brakes on it. Basically, what I'm getting to at the start of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you want to talk about that or one of my random ideas? Well, because like at the start of COVID, because our platform was so regionally based.
Yes. Yeah.
That we decided at the start of COVID that there's economically sound would be put a halt on production because where are we selling them through? Because you can't run around, you can't do direct person marketing, right? Like you can't I make a comic book. You can't do that stuff.
No.
So since COVID, we've put a halt on it, and that's where we've sort of been investigating what it is that I'm doing.
Well, and then it's now almost 2 years ago.
Holy moly! How old am I now? Don't answer.
Your health demanded a lifestyle change, and so
that's the nicest way that F could ever be put.
It allowed this full-time transition to your home studio, and then you've got something here with these 1-page stories. Where can we go with it from here? And so began the streaming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that initially came about because working at the bookstore, there was the realization about some of the people that would come to the store fairly isolated.
Yes.
This sort of fits to a statement made by Jim about comic guys who are a little, withdrawn.
Yeah.
Not the whole can't talk to girls, but the withdrawn part. And so when something like the lockdown happens and people are forced to be home, brutal, right? And if their workplace doesn't transfer over into facilitating them living at home, it's even more brutal for people. But so for some of those people that were feeling really isolated and needed to bridge that connection because their only social outlet might have been going to the store, that's where I kept putting it forward to everybody, not just those people, but everybody. If you've got a 1-page idea, let me know, and let's make a comic. You like comics? Let's make a 1-page comic out of it and try to find some sort of bit of fun for a moment, and a break from the ridiculousness that was going on in the world.
Can you explain what you're drawing today?
Oh, yeah, a 3-prompt page. It's Hobbit, Groundhog, Car.
Okay.
So I'm starting with a car.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So like when you were at the studio in the market, people stop by constantly to chat with you. Working at the store, people stop by.
Hey,
Yeah, they were shopping, but
what are
they
you
were
drawing? What are you drawing there?
they were also coming by to chit chat with you, and so this is just another format of what you've always done: is draw and chat.
Yeah, I think that really does justice to it. Makes it sound like I have more sense to me than I do. But yeah, so you're right, and so it also opened the opportunity. Let's be honest, for me to feel less isolated, right? COVID was brutal. I mean, where I was working at the time is in the heart of the city and of London here, and London's downtown was falling apart, and I found that really disheartening. Like, I found that really, working 30 years in core, to watch it disintegrate into the worst I've ever seen it. You know, was and people in all kinds of different states on the street. That stunk. And yeah, that, and I had my house started flagging. It was then too. So yeah, long story short, now I'm not at the store.
Yeah,
I don't know how to put that.
there was always the plan, like that, to be making that transition to being full time in your studio, but the timing, we never nailed the timing, but then it got decided for us.
Is that a generous way of saying I kept putting it off?
Yes.
Yeah.
You weren't listening to me.
I wasn't doing what I was told enough. Because I wanted to. I didn't know that I could. I didn't know that I could step away. I didn't know. It's a whole weird thing about when you're carrying X amount of responsibility. It's a hard transition for anybody to make, especially into a creative venture, to step out autonomously for yourself. And so, I sort of felt like I was letting the side down, right? Didi just laughed because, Didi clapping for me. Jim called me a phenom. Jim, that's so rude. And and then she's laughing. Lori. I think she's agreeing with you. I'm a bozo. But it's a hard transitional leap to make. It's for anybody to step away from full-time out there in the field, earning from others and making money for others. And then now you got to come home and figure out, well, how do I organize myself? And that's still an ongoing process. I think would be fair to say.
Yeah.
Like, so that's where we are now. And one of the things that we're trying to do is, how would you put it? We're figuring out. She even put it parenthetically. She said, "LOL." He wasn't listening to me. Actually, it's not parentheses; it's quotations. Parentheses are brackets. So, yeah, that's true. But now we're at the stage where we're trying to figure out those next steps, and I think that's why just setting up the Substack and setting up those other options, those other opportunities, I think it's better. I'm trying to figure out my lighting on my desk. And where to go next is what you're trying to get me to.
So I was talking to my colleague, and her husband is, the right term.
He's an animator.
He's an animator. Thank you.
He Sheridan graduated animator.
Yeah. And we were just remarking to one another at the realization of how, when you're putting out there what you've created, what you've drawn, etc., that is so personal to do that, and that takes a lot of courage. And it's something that, like the general public, or general people just wouldn't really consider it. Like, I didn't really consider it until I got together with you, on what it takes to to put that book out there, and you're just open to feedback on it, possibly criticism, which may or may not be helpful criticism. And
I get along with critics really well. I do really well with critical people.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
So when you're ramping yourself up, like you are at this stage, pre getting ready to publish a book, it's so much more than, you're clicking, yeah, we're going to print this. Like there's a whole aspect, personal, emotional aspect to that it can be a barrier to wanting to move forward.
Well, like, there's the individual self, right? There's the allowing the internal exposition of your creative output. Like, I'm feeling this sort of thing about that, and therefore I'm constructing this narrative into the images that I'm drawing and working through that, right? Trying to formulate what my take really is. And I do a lot of that. But at the same time, there's an exposing that to others. And, here's this page, like, and then somebody looks at the page and like, okay, so I use, I haven't done this, but I'm just going to use a random thing. But I'm drawing bunnies and having bunnies as the example as I'm representing this thing. And they look at it, the thing, and their takeaway is, well, actually, long-haired brown rabbits of this variety. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? This is nothing. And you're like, did I not convey whatever it is I was trying to convey? Yeah. And in the accurate way that they're this facile about the bunnies. Like, there's a lot of that, And then I really have a hard time with the criticism of, well, if I was to do it, I'd do it this way. And you're like, you've never done anything like this. You don't do any of that. You just talk about what other people do. So I don't do well with critics. I tend to be pretty obstinate. An important thing, Jim has said, animators are brave and stunningly gorgeous. Fact.
I've heard that. Thank you for verifying.
Hey, Jim, what's going on with you and Lori? And Dee Dee says, you forgot funny, Jim. And then Jim says, I was being humble, Dee Dee. Yeah, I think that one of the great things about having switched to this online thing, because of between the fragility of my health, and because becoming a type 1 diabetic 2 years ago, instead of that's nothing I can really control. I have zero control or choice about the fact that 4 needles a day, and it's just my pancreas shut up. There's nothing I can do about it or could have done about it. So switching to this online thing for engagement, I think has really enabled me. And then, people like Dee Dee and Jim in the chat, I mean, it's a blessing to me. Some of these people are so fantastic, and they're all very talented. Like I've everybody that pretty much jumps in and out of these streams are really talented individuals, and I don't feel I can ever fully enough suggest and promote, please go look at what they do. And so that, I mean, that's a real gift to meet, what was it? Brave and stunningly gorgeous animators and illustrators. Like, I can't get over some of the engagements in the community and how what you're referring to, the artistic vulnerability. And, and here's, well, I'm going to use Dee Dee. I used Dee Dee as an example for X amount of things, and I'm sorry for that, Dee Dee. But Dee Dee had, 100 some odd people on her thing today. And, that's real fun, really vulnerable. You've always got people who are like, do it like this. They don't mean it, but they do it like this. She drew a conspiracy chicken this morning. And
it was a gorgeous chicken.
I think the male chickens are called roosters. But I still like conspiracy chicken better because I'm a big fan of alliteration. I love alliteration. So yeah, here she is drawing this, and you inevitably have people go, do it this way while you're working. And I mean, there's a whole I want to do it my way thing inside of you that everybody has. So like, talk about the rawness of that, So, Didi says, we feel the same about you, Christopher. Your work's amazing. Oh, okay. Thanks, Didi. And you are entertaining. And Didi says, thanks, Lori. I think thank you for your chicken comment. So at this point, okay, so here's some of the things that Lori is helping me figure out. I need to make a list of, what do I need at this point to take this up? Like, my cameras are terrible and my lighting is terrible. And what do I need to figure those things out? I'm at that stage now, I guess, is what we were talking about, and a little bit, and then trying to streamline
just get
all these outputs.
Yeah, just get some clarity on what you use and what is it for, and how did they all interact, and like what's the overall strategy. So
I mean, because my principal motivation for a lot of things, it's nice to be able to engage with people. And optimally, I would like to figure out some way, because soliciting things on a regional basis where you can actually just go, hey, look, I made a thing. And people go, oh, I'll buy the thing. Is so much different than joining into the world of the interweb, right? So Jim says, you get back what you put out, and I put out positivity. And Didi says, for sure that. Okay. Well, that's nice, you guys. But that's a big part of what I want to, that's the other part of what I draw, right? I draw and I paint and I write, and, like even the thing on Saturday where my friend's setting up at the comedy club, and so I'm trying to help, in the organizational capacity of that, and because it's a big part of me, so I can draw a big deal in some regards, because what does that mean? That I'm really capable to express myself creatively, fine, but at the same time, I'm a big proponent of helping others do that too. And so I think that's the other part that this part of things helps me with. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like a call to service.
Well, just like you did last week, you did that mini lecture to the University of Mexico classroom.
I think it was. I don't. Yeah.
Last week.
Mexico, anyways.
Okay, in Mexico, like, how cool is that? And before COVID, you were going into classrooms regularly,
corrupting young minds,
and all ages, from young to young adult.
Well, Ivy, when I taught the Ivy thing through Western, those kids are upwards of 30, 30 some odd years old, business students. Yeah. A couple of adults, but you always get a couple of adults in anything post-secondary. So, Didi says that makes a difference in the motive to doing streams and vids. I mean, Didi would know to speak to that, because it's clearly what she does as well. A thing that I really enjoy, and this speaks to Jim, who's been commenting as well, and who sent us the videos last week. I mean, Jim talking about his process. Yeah. I don't think you realize. Like, I don't think people realize that when doing so, that there is a great deal of information, and there's a great deal of consideration out of that most people don't know any of these things, and most people don't understand some of the little actions and activities that need to be done in order to produce something like an animation. Like animations are magical. They're these magical cartoon drawings that move around on your screen and nobody knows how they work or how they happen. And so being able to watch his thing, and then of course, there's the nicety of him having me do voice stuff with him, which I really feel fortunate for. But the equipping of that, like Dee Dee, somebody was doing a stream the other day, and she was trying to do a fan brush thing, so you could put like little fan imprints on an image. And it's just kind of getting there, but it wasn't kind of getting there. So she does a quick, short stream, like a quick little short of here's how you do it: smack it and turn it. And for one person who has X amount of experience, it's just draw like I've just drawn a Volkswagen. And for other people, it's they've never sat down to that process. Like
making that accessible, like that's valuable information, understanding the process and the behind the scenes. I think a lot of people love that.
I think that there's value to it, and I think that people do appreciate it. But the second part of that, the second problem for me out of that is I don't know how to draw value from it. And that's the sort of things that we're talking about today and we're trying to process today is, okay, well, how can we take this to the next stuff? What the work that Jim puts, this is Dee Dee saying, the work that Jim puts in, and he doesn't do process vids, that keeps him motivated. He's very self-motivated. Yeah. It's truly, he's just a guy that he's going. He goes to a coffee shop and puts together a scene for a film. Like that's a level of motivation that most just won't. And then here's the parts of the thing. Here's the thing to show you. Like that's how he looks at it. And it's not like he's like, I'm gonna draw this thing here and then we're gonna stick it in the computer. He doesn't do that part. Because honestly, that's the part that you lose people because they look at that and they go, I don't know how to get that. Where'd you get that robot? Pattern? So I like the way he does that. Dee Dee says she's loving the VW, by the way. Oh, thanks, Dee. To just drop that bug on a page. Oh, well. Okay, so here's the thing Jim does. Question of the day. What's the trickiest part about being married to an artist? P.S. Don't let my wife answer. And then before you answer that, hon, Dee Dee says, I wouldn't want to be married to an artist. Me neither. They're crazy. That's a fun question.
It is a fun question.
Do you want to take it on?
Trickiest part? Is that what the wording was?
What is the trickiest part about being married to an artist? Oh, I'm an artist now. Ugh, they're the worst. Yeah. What would you say is the?
I like that wording. Trickiest. It's not.
That doesn't bode well.
It's not challenging because it's not hard. Like we have so much in common. Right. You all can't see, but this room is full of books, and I love books, even though we have different tastes in books. I don't necessarily read his books, but I
read
books.
Junk.
We love books, so it doesn't. That's not. Some people might be like, that would be a challenge for them. When Christopher was in a smaller space in our home, like the books multiply, the stacks of books, and I'd be like, where are these books coming from? But now we've got a system. He's got space to expand, so that's good. Probably the trickiest part is, and he would know this, and again, it works for us. We're very compatible that way. He could be at his desk 24/7. But mostly, like he at late at night. That's really, I think, when his creative juices kick in, because I think it's a pattern that he developed when he had kids when they were young. Get them to bed, and then that's his time. And so that's kind of carried on. Whereas I'm an early bird. Like I need to go to bed early. So he has his solitary time, but we're also at a stage in life when we're empty nesters, so he has lots of solitary time. But I like my solitary time too, so it all works. But I would think that like you would need to understand that when you're in a relationship with an artist, that they need their time. It's not a 9 to 5 thing.
It's funny hearing about it from your perspective, because I know for a fact that really often really successful. Oh, Dee Dee says we both have books here too, and that keeps us compatible for her. Something it helps her as she goes in. What I was saying that I've always said this, and this is a silly thing to some people, but to be a really successful person, like there's just sort of these massive levels of success. There's sacrifice or greed, right? It's either greed or sacrifice, and you can do this without being that greedy person. But in order to do so, like to be the big, Bass Greedy, or I'm Andy Warhol, or some other reference I'm about to make that you might not know, but in order to be these big name people, you've got to be greedy, or you've got to sacrifice. And so to be greedy, it's all about everything around me accommodates me. And if that means you're married or you have kids, well, guess what? It's always about my thing first, my career, my push, my pull, my whatever, is how some people assert it. And then the flip side of that is the sacrifice part. If I'm going to be the big successful guy, then relationships and having kids or having any dependence upon whatever me, the narcissistic me person, right? Well, you sacrifice the possibility of all those other enjoyments, and I think that's a tricky pill, because a lot of people grow up thinking from the creative vantage point of they want to be the famous person or the highly economically successful, what do they call them on social media now? The people that do the TikTok dances and influencers.
Yes, there you go.
These influencers,
yeah.
Are they really? Like, no, they're not. They don't influence anything about society, except for denigration. But that's subtle take, huh? And I think that there's not enough appreciation, maybe, amongst a great deal of creative people that you stop thinking about being that guy, that girl, and start thinking about the work and what you're doing and what it is that you want to say and what is it that you're trying to get finished, and focus on that. Stop focusing on being this big person, because I tend to find more and more in this postmodern society we live in. I know I'm not going to get on it, but I tend to find those people have less talent. It's far less about the talent, more about the personality in the fame. And so I think that
to a degree, though, that package does get them the following and the returns, but
sure,
it's on a shaky foundation because there's not the substance there to maintain it.
Yeah, you're only rich when you're dead. Like you might have economic money and stuff like that, and people will remember your name when you go and try to sell your paintings for whatever, but you don't have a rich life. Right? Like you don't have that. Dee Dee says fame was never one of my goals, and yet you have a great deal of people that enjoy what you do in the time with you, Dee Dee. Right? And that I think that's rich.
Yes.
That's richness. I think that, and like the amount of people that have seen Jim's films, that's richness. That's a fantastic. That's a win. I'm far more interested in that as a win then, and the availability of somebody to just continue doing what they do, than somebody walking into a room and everybody goes, "Oh, that's so and so," because who cares? Like it's it's the fragility of ego, really, right? Didi says, "I want to help others be successful as much as possible," which is clearly. And then she was throwing influencers out at me because me. What's that word? And people will just start shouting things at me because they know I'm not going to get it.
I do want to say though that like you've made that clear that family comes first. If there's something that I want to do, just let's plan it. Like let's talk. Let's go do it. Like your attitude is not you're hold off and unapproachable, and your time is your time. That's not how you have set the parameters.
No, you can't. A person can't be that way and have. No. And that's the part about the sacrifice.
But it's also the rich life. Like if you don't have the strong family relationships or friendships or whatever it is outside of your creativity, then you're missing a whole aspect of what makes life rich.
Yeah, I mean I think that's absolutely true for how you can really find real success in a creative community is to engage with other people in that regard. But at the same time, if you want to find success in living, appreciate the people in your world, appreciate your loved ones and your peer group, and all the things that make artistic people humans. It's just hard. It's a hard thing for. I can't talk right now. I'm sharpening my crayons.
Oh, I have an answer to Jim's tricky.
Oh boy, here it goes.
Okay, so Christopher always has a pocket, his left chest pocket full of various.
No pocket today.
Instruments. That when he pulls me in for a hug because of our height difference, I could easily get poked in the eye or what have you. And so it's always very dangerous.
Beauty is laughing, and she has put a bunch of pen or crayon emojis up. Yeah. And I pull you in for a hug. Get over here, woman. There's that's I guess she's rolling on the floor at this point, Laurie. That's a physical concern, a physical danger about being with creative people is you could possibly be maimed by their stuff. Like in other creative people's space. Okay, musicians, you got the danger of being made deaf. Going into an artist studio can be a dangerous proposition. Just for some people, I'm not going to name anybody that has a lot of stuff in their studio, kind of like it's a store. There's the potential collapse. Judy says, great honest, or Jim says, great honest answer, Lori. What are you, being heightist? Anyways, yeah, so I mean, there's all those different considerations. Like, oftentimes you'll see creative people in their homes. They're just chaos. They're the weirdest houses you ever walk into because, okay, all right, this is your what room? My thinking room. Okay. I know someone that has that, and it's like it doesn't make any sense at all. Their room is really to sit down and sit in this. What it is a back porch on a house that they filled in. It was a little, just lovely little back porch add-on at the back of their property above an extension they built in. And they put windows on it. No screens, just windows. And so it's a strange little walkout that's got 3 feet this way and 6 feet across that they sit in this hot box and sip a cup of tea in the morning. And I'm like, they have to keep the door to the house open so that they can breathe. It's my thinking room. And I'm like, it's an artist's house. That's an art. Like, that's a weird space. Like, it's one thing when people walk into our house with the main floor, you wouldn't know what I do on the main floor. Our house is our home. And for the majority of the house until you get here, and then it's like, what happened? And this is not a nerd factory. So we've kept that fairly tame. But for some people, that's a real challenge, right? Is there anything else that you would consider tricky? Dee Dee's laughing because I said heightist. That's my shtick, Dee Dee. It's when all the challenges that people talk about and stuff, and I'm always calling heightist. I can't help myself. Yeah. It's so okay. Back to. Is there anything else that you want to express about trickiness?
So.
Oh, she's got a list. She's got a list. That's not good.
Your mind is always going. I know that, and I wouldn't want a window into it because
it's terrifying.
Ending. And sometimes, you're telling me all your thoughts. It's a lot of thoughts, but that has worked to my advantage when I can't sleep, and we just start talking.
And then what does it do for you? It puts you to sleep. Okay, we're getting really honest today. Why didn't we do this earlier, Lori?
Sorry.
Who cares? Why not? I talk my wife to sleep. So anyway, Lori, then I was thinking that what if ants could fly? What if ants could fly? Hon? Well, I guess she's asleep. I'll go talk to the cats.
It's not like that.
No, it's not, but okay, back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Let's get away from this. The plans for what's next. What did we figure out so far? What are we doing now? What am I doing now? Like we talked about.
Well, because we're anticipating the book, the next book, and just trying to figure out how you can utilize what you've established already with your various platforms, but really hone in on what those platforms are best suited for, and obviously reaching new, growing your followings, and
starting a gang.
Really figuring out a framework and approach for marketing. So getting more clear, I think. So for example, back to the naming of the podcast. From no one wants to listen to my podcast to everybody wants to listen to my podcast.
You still laugh about those names.
And, I was looking at the podcasts that I listened to, and I'm thinking, how would people find your podcast? Because it's not named what it is. So where the podcasts that I listen to, they're very clearly named to reflect what the content is. And so this is why I suggested the name change. And also, we made a breakthrough with the kind of switching up from one-page comic to one-page story, and that was because of some feedback you've gotten, from the publisher.
Yeah.
And from others too, really. Well, Jim, I think as well, had mentioned better describing what it is that you're doing every day, because when we're out and about, we're meeting people, and you go, I draw one-page comics, like their faces glaze over.
Yeah, there you go.
And I want to
Okay.
go, but it's not.
All right.
It's not Spider-Man, like, or whatever. No, I love Spider-Man, but that's not what he does. And I'm standing beside him, and I'm like, how do we convey better, quickly, what it is that he's doing, so that people understand and are intrigued and will look it up. Getting your name for the website, like, you used to have a ridiculous website URL. That was a win.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
we're small, but slowly but surely we're making these wins that are making it easier and more clear for people to find you and understand what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's like this incremental streamlining. It's one thing to just do one thing. That's a sentence I just used. Yeah. It's I think it's to do one course of action is very, you can just focus all the eggs in that basket. That's good. But I don't do that. And because I don't necessarily do that, because I'm illustrating other books while I'm doing the one pages. Is the thing that I don't talk a lot about is the fact that I've done a one page today, but I've also illustrated one or two other pages in the same day. And because I didn't want to sound like that guy, right? Like, oh, I do this much of it. Nobody needs that. Nobody wants to hear that. But the reality is that because I have multiple things going on, or the fact that I can't sit still on what it is, like I just draw with pencil, or I just draw with pen, or I just draw, I can't even do that, right? Like today I gotta paint it. So it's hard. I think that rather than just saying comic, and the fact that if I say, well, what is we'll meet people at an event, a very formal event. So what do you do? And I write and illustrate comics, and they go, okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
And it's like, I just want to walk around with this iPad, just hung around my neck on a chain, just going through pages, going, what do you do? Because it'd just be easier, right? Like I make pictures, put the words on them. So, yeah, it's so streamlining it. Like the realization of, I have to make this list of what do we need to step it up a notch, and having been stuck in such a groove of, we knew the cost of books. I had all the cost projections set up for what it was for production of books and what it was for getting copies of publications to the contributors towards them, and then getting copies of publications to the places that were going to sell them, and taking into account the potential, they're going to buy them at this much money. You have to accommodate the fact that if you have it to be sold at this much money, you have to accommodate sales and discounts that they might do in their workplace, so that if you want to make anything off it, then you got to consider that as well. All those things that people don't know about putting out comics, and having all of that in that, in this routine of that, in this rhythm of production of that. And now it's the rhythm of production hasn't changed. The problem is the gears in the car have completely halted as of where I'm driving down the road. So I think that doing what we're doing right now with this publisher is going to change. It's just something's going to finally come
It
out.
opens up the distribution potential. From regional. I mean, yes, distribution, but even more than that, it's the reach, reaching the audience, because people can order from around the world from your website. But it's the reaching.
The challenge for that, we had a website that really wasn't functioning the way we wanted.
Well, we did. That was a big win too when we finally discovered that.
we finally got human beings involved and started getting through the robot system, and it was like that was a major win. Didi says, I don't know how comic or graphic book artists do it. The time it takes for a project, and animation too. I mean, there's definitely something for. There's not enough. Here's the thing about our consumable society. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's neat. Just this momentary consumption. What are you doing now? What are you working on next? Somebody you can. I've seen creatives go. It took me this much long in my life, and somebody goes, okay, 2 hours. Yeah. I devoured that book last night. No writer wants you to devour their book. I want you to enjoy it and to. It's the same thing as a cook. When you've got your fancy chef in a restaurant that sits down and creates this really particular, and I've got this drizzled business on top of your piece of steak that is immaculately cooked in the size of a nickel, for $48 Canadian, and you sit down in the restaurant and the person says, "Yo, did I say? Thank you very much." Nobody wants that. And so I think that's the biggest challenge from a creative standpoint, is that you spend X amount of time on thing, and people just go, "Yeah, it was great. I liked it. So how's your new one coming along? When's that ready?"
Yeah.
I think the one page is kind of a weird answer to that for me to some extent, because it fits into my mode of output. And so for those that are as highly consumable as they want to be, have at it, right? Because I'm doing my best to keep up with those. But at the same time, I think others find the joy of it along the way, but I know for a fact that those, all right, next one, pal, next one, those people, the debating on how many pages in a book, entirely dependent upon cost. Okay, so how many pages can you fit in a book is dependent on the cost of paper, cost of production, cost of shipping and handling and the weights therein, and all of these other business facets that people don't account for. Forget about the fact of recompense. Forget about the fact of, possibly using that to cover initial cost off of the investment of production and then solicitation and all of, like, people don't think like that. They just, our book, hey, next, and same with animation, same with film, same with whatever, same with knitting. Beautiful scarf I've knitted you. Oh, it's great. Can I have a green one? You sick girl. Change your color of your coat. So I think that's a massive challenge. That's a massive challenge for productivity. I think that you want to be doing what you're doing and have a proficiency in your process of how you do it. But there's a great deal of people I find, and this is something I'm always trying to encourage and promote to other people that are interested in doing a thing. You gotta have discipline. You gotta figure out routine. It's almost like you gotta keep. I mentioned something in today's page. I talked about the filing cabinets for your imagination. It's just this random thing that came out. There's a great deal of people in the creativity and the creative fields that don't believe in that. Some of these people can have all these things in their head. I'm like, how can you not? Like, how, it helps you so much to be able to think about drawing a car. You got to think about how a car works. And okay, that's A, but B is the discipline, the practice of drawing the car, the routine practice of doing the thing. But C is, to me, has always been, when you do X, Y, Z, you've got to utilize that. Like we were talking about that recently, about I try to use whatever I do. like I try to utilize. How did I say? I don't remember.
In terms of materials?
No, like
No, like you don't crumple up and toss something when you're not happy with it.
no way.
So we were trying to figure out the best way to capitalize is getting.
Yeah,
to
we were
it.
looking for that word for like two blocks.
Yeah, reinvention.
Refurbish.
If
anybody can think of that word for us, please let us know. But taking a thing, if for what you intended it for, it's not going to work. So I'm going to do another thing. But the first output that you had, you can utilize for something else. Maybe utilize is the word. It's not a word at all.
Yeah.
But
utilize.
Whatever that is, no,
Yeah,
because it's not recycling. It's not
use of it, no matter what, even if it's not for the original intent.
Yeah, because I find that a lot of times, I think that one of the ways that I'm doing what I'm doing is, much as I'm doing this because of that, because it's just like use everything. Dee Dee just said repurposing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, Dee Dee. 2 days! 2 days we've been trying to think of repurposing. I'm writing that down. Repurposing. That is so. Thank you, Dee Dee. So I don't know. What do you think of this point in the process? It's kind of really, there's a vulnerability in us not doing this in the stream, but there's no part of me that, there's no part of me that's like, it's just the way I am. There's no part of me that's worried about, people are going to think I'm a goofball. They know, like, they get it. The regulars here get it. And if it's first time for somebody, well, you're going to figure it out fast. So, so what do you think about this next step? What do you think about, because the publisher that we're working with is going through the world's largest, they're a subsidiary of the world's largest publisher. So the next thing goes, so I'm going from regional, local, small size city to less than 500,000 people to, too much, too big, too many.
I think it's a really exciting opportunity because it feels like you're not on your own trying to figure it out. And
it's been interesting.
You've done well. And I try to help where I can. And you know the mechanics and all that's involved in publishing. But where it feels very isolating and frustrating is that when it comes to the marketing and the distribution, even like the mailing part of it can be difficult. Trying to figure out those logistics.
Trying to remember our postal code.
Yes. And so
that's a real thing for me.
And so when they are bringing those elements into the mix, like, yes, we still need to do our part, but like, give us that expertise that we're missing. Let us tap into the resources that you've got, and that will it'll just make everything, I think, easier and more rewarding, much less frustrating process.
I think you said it earlier, and it's a daunting expression, but it's legitimate, and especially at my age, 39. Not true. And
oh, come on! Yesterday, someone said to you, we were with our grandkids, and they said, "So these are your kids?"
Yeah.
And I'm standing beside you because they know.
Yeah, but they've known you for a long time.
Yeah, so they know my age. So they're definitely not my kids. But they're like, oh, she's married to a young one, and those must be his kids.
Anyways, at my age, and at the point the things that we've done, and I've done, which, yeah, like you say, I don't get into all that because, let's talk about how great I am. It's time for that. Nobody tunes into somebody else doing that. Really, it sticks around. Nobody does that. People want to engage with tell me how all the ways you're broken. So, you said that the stage that things are at now is like growing up, and it's a daunting expression. I think it's a daunting thing for any creative types to do. Oh my gosh, baby's like, I want in the camera. Baby goes with mom, Corbin goes with dad. That's generally how it works.
When we're talking to each other, she wants to be a part of it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
She always comes and wants to sit on my lap when we're talking. So this is what she's
Don't talk to dad, talk to me.
Yeah.
So I think that at the stage where we're at and stepping into that larger, optimally stepping into that larger venue, it is like a moving beyond an adolescence of locality.
Yeah.
It is like a moving into a larger sphere, right? Dee Dee says we are not ageists. Thank goodness for that. Well, my making I'm turning 39 this year joke that I've been doing it's a Jack Benny joke. In fact, I'm making a Jack Benny joke tells you I'm not 25. But I'm making a joke where the oldest is turning 32 this year. So I can't be clearly. You had him at 7. It was 8 last year. Yeah, so for heaven's sakes, Lily's the height she is now. I mean, it's our 12-year-old granddaughter. So, anyways, yeah, I think that there's something to be said for that, and it's a strange thing to admit, and at the same time, in this journey, in this course of stuff that we're undertaking together because you are so integral to what I'm doing. Yeah, it's I use the word daunting because it sounds less silly than the true word, which is scary. It's a scary process to step out into a larger sphere, right? There's a series a Japanese creator made called Blame. It's pronounced Blame, but it's spelled blame in English. And it's all about this mechanisms that were created in order to fabricate more city, more housing, more residency for people. And in a world where we've got more and more people and not enough, viable, healthy living spaces for them prepared, it's a really interesting book because, that's a real issue with London. And but the problem is that the spheres are endless. The first sphere that was completely made habitable is ostensibly the Earth, so that oceans and stuff are all, everything's all built in, like they've used every resource and converted it into city, and then now it's moved out into the solar system, and just the idea of that beggars the mind. Like it's such a massive thought to think about a city that goes all the way out to Jupiter and the circumference therein of resources, and it's such grandiose thinking that's beyond the ken. But I think that the reality of that, when you think about your comfort sphere, regional based, like I just draw this with some friends at a bar, or we've done a little show of our things at a library, or moving into those larger spheres each time of stepping outside of those comfort zones. And each time you do that, it doesn't matter who you are and what place you're in. That's my big foible, I guess. That's my big insecurity, is that every time I do that, I'm like, "Wah!" And I'm always a 11th hour panic when it comes to that, because there's always, it's like on Sunday, never enough. You're never good enough to go and do that thing. Because maybe it's a Canadian aesthetic, maybe it's just the insecurity that we all of us have. What's that?
It's human.
Or human insecurity we all have. But larger spheres are tough, and I think that my takeaway from that, the thing that I try to suggest on a regular basis here in the stream, is don't be afraid of those. Don't be afraid to try to draw the stick figure thing. Don't be afraid to, well, the first panel is a Volkswagen as it pulls up to, it's driving along the street, and I'm just going to draw the street in behind it. And the second panel is a groundhog leaning out of the car, like, hey, baby! And the third panel is going to be at picking up a hobbit for a car ride, which makes me think I should put a taxi sign on top of the Volkswagen. See, that's how these narratives come together for me, is that. But my whole point is that if there's one thing I can say towards you being part of this, is that a really, and maybe anybody that might be joining the stream, whether it's live or if it's watching this afterwards, please comment. If you want to explore self, if a person wants to, like Maeve Binchy, tell stories, right? Like, Cormac McCarthy, just right off the top of your head. Like, Mozart, like Tom York from the band Radiohead, whatever it is, Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. If you just want to create, you just want to do something, you just got to start doing it. And as it picks up and as it develops, you might well go into larger spheres and move out to things that aren't comfortable for you. I think that if there's any takeaway that I can have for sharing with people, is that it's really important to have a strong support. And that's the gift, that the blessing in our relationship is being, a partner you can be there for one another with. And it's not always a relationship like that. I mean, there's people that have really supportive friends, really supportive parents, really supportive, mentors in a field or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's not just, your wife or your husband or whatever it is. I think that having somebody that you might know that goes, keep on swimming, right? I think that's an important part that I don't think there's enough talk about. So this was rather impulsive today about we're doing all this stuff together, but the stream's coming up, and I never have a plan for the streams each day. It's just, what are we working on today? And I literally open the book and go, I guess it's gonna be this one. So like today's a 3 prompt from a 3 words of prompts from a bag on Dee Willingham's stream. And, she's got people going, I'll take 3 prompts throughout her entire program. And today she finally said, okay, let's get them out now, people. I was like, God, yes. Let's let her get on to what she's going to do without you shouting for prompts at her through the whole thing. Everybody does it. And you don't think about those things. But I really appreciate you coming on. Dee Dee says it was great to have Lori on today. And that's super nice.
Thanks for being so kind.
Yeah, and, so today's being as well different as they usually are. I think if there's something that I appreciate, it's the fact of exempling that, maybe, to finding somebody who's understands your weirdness, your peccadillos, as I call them, and gets the creative avenue, gets the creative individual. And if people can find somebody who understands the madness, and somebody who could look at what you're doing and go, I don't get it, but okay, is that?
Well, I'm recognizing that it should be out there.
Well, that's the whole. That's stage 2, right? That is stage 2. That's stage doom. Yeah, yeah, definitely that. But at least if you have somebody that's in your camp, I'm extra spoiled, I think. But so yeah, so it's been great, having you on today and talking about this stuff. Is there anything else that you've been reading? I've been making Lori read books that I like, and we're gonna do we won't do it now.
No.
But
you need to prepare, not like you. Just
fly by the seat of my pants. But yeah, so we've got some stuff coming up.
I like doing that.
Where Lori's going to be reviewing some of the things that we do. And for those in mind that if you might be understanding who we're intimating towards for some of the things that we've received of late, we only do positive reviews. I think it's an important, if you've got a negative review about somebody's creative output, shoosh. Nobody wants to hear it. I enjoy constructive criticism is a fantastic way of saying, please be kind. Because I really don't want to hear all your attack reviews, because they're the worst. They're the absolute worst for people.
It's like, if you don't like it, then don't read it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't get through it, put it down and say,
it's not for you.
Yeah, that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, so Lori, we're going to be recording those and putting those out, and we're going to sign off in a couple of minutes. Oh, Gary's joined us. Hi, Gary. Fashionably late once again. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's why the streams are kind of fun, because they're recorded, so people can just watch them whenever they feel like watching them. It's strange to me that someone will comment on a stream that was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. It's I know one person only watches the ones where I draw pages in pencil crayon.
Oh,
okay. I do know one person that does that attends the comic jams. I just like when you draw in pencil crayon, man. That's awesome. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, Josh Kemble's just jumped in too. Fashionably even later. Hi. So yeah, for those joining late, Josh and Gary, this is my wife Lauren, and we've been talking about how much suffering she has to go through as the wife of a creative, right? So yeah, I think that with what we're doing now, and we're gonna wrap up in the next couple of minutes, because we got to talk to the publisher today. So as much as I do whatever I do, and Dee Dee says Lori's been awesome, and Gary says pleasure to meet you, Lori. He puts meet in quotations. Well, because he's so. And Josh says Lori rocks. Nice. As much as I appreciate being able to do what it is that I do, I don't think that that's possible without, I know your support and your understanding, and as well as support and understanding of people in this more broad, this larger community that I've had the chance to meet, because that's a healthy and important thing for a person that spends an awful lot of time living in their head, and an awful lot of time constructing narratives in their head. And even if they're not fictional narratives, even if they're trying to comprehend the world around them, when you write, not just draw, but when you write, you really grapple with the comprehension of that, the words of that. So it's so a lot of the writers that you choose to read those are stories of life. This is you tend to read nonfiction
Yes.
books, and in the fiction that you do read,
It's very realistic.
it's very realistic. And so, I mean, that's another thing about individuals that go into these creative channels and just like the flow. It's called the flow. That's what artists and writers and stuff, when you get into the flow. But when they go into these channels and they jump into these flows of creativity, it's really important there's somebody, that they have somebody on the shore to yank them out. What are you doing? You're swimming upstream, you lunatic. Get out of the water. Get out of the water and go eat a hot dog. I don't know. So thank you. And then, and thanks for being on the show. Is there anything else that you want to say, everybody?
Me. It was a little intimidating. I hear a lot about these streams and the people who you interact with. And
Sure.
I watch them too, and it's fun to be on this side of the camera. So thanks.
It's kind of different, isn't it? Because Lori watches. I don't really rewatch my streams ever, right? I mean, I very rarely. If it's something like I got to go back and try to figure out something that was said, or somebody said a one-page thing and I missed it, I'll go back through streams. But generally, I look at myself, go, what a lunatic, his teeth are gonna fall out of his head, and oftentimes you'll tell me things I'm like, really? That happened? So, yeah. Thanks, everybody. Dee Dee says, thanks for streaming, both of you. Thanks, everybody, for coming and hanging out. Today's page is Hobbit, Groundhog, Car, 3-word prompt. I'll get this done and get it posted tomorrow. We're going to go back to doing some paperwork stuff. Hey, the fun never stops for Lori today. And get our Substack going. So on a Substack, which is the new thing, we've got the whole weeks of pages is in one Substack, and it's our newsletter. And so it's just my name on Substack. And so the whole point of that is that for the people that miss days, or for the people that really don't want to watch it every day, you know what I mean, or don't have notifications on to see it each day, the Substack only comes out once a week, and it's literally just, here's all the pages of this week and what the suggestion was for said pages. And so that's our fun new thing. Our Patreon, we're adding cat photos too, because people are interested in the cats. And so for those that, and that's, you don't have to pay to see the Patreon. There's tiers, but or is it a thing? I think it's $3. And then there's tiers for people that I want more. So yeah, we're having fun. Same with the Substack. Substack's free. But yeah, so thanks everybody for your support, and I'll see you tomorrow at 2. In the meantime, have fun working on whatever it is you're working on. And Dee Dee says, later, guys. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.